Something is loosening in the invisible places, Leo. Not the obvious parts of life you can plan for, not the surface-level delays that anyone can see. This is deeper than timing. This is the kind of shift you feel in your chest before you can name it. Like the air changing right before the first drop of rain, like the hush that falls over a room when the story is about to turn. You've been walking with your head held high even while carrying a weight that never belonged to you. You've been strong in ways people assume are effortless because you wear strength like sunlight, warm, bright, convincing. But the truth is, even the sun has to rise through darkness first. For a long time, it has felt like something kept catching on you. Like every time you were about to move fully forward, a small unseen hook would snag your momentum. Not enough to destroy you, never that, but enough to exhaust you. Enough to make you question if you were asking for too much, dreaming too big, expecting too soon. And because you're Leo, you tried to outshine the blockage. You tried to love harder, give more, push through, prove your worth to a world that didn't deserve a performance. You kept going, even when your heart was tired of being brave. But listen closely, the last blocker is not always a person. Sometimes it's a pattern wearing a familiar face. Sometimes it's a vow you made in pain, quietly, privately, when you told yourself you would never need anyone again. Sometimes it's pride that grew out of survival, the kind that says, if I don't ask, I can't be disappointed. Sometimes it's the old story that love has to cost you something to be real. And Leo, you've paid enough. You've paid in silence. You've paid in patience. You've paid in the moments you swallowed your truth because you didn't want to be too much. You've paid in the nights you carried everyone else's emotions like they were your responsibility. If this message feels like a hand on your shoulder in the dark, subscribe to Leo Zodiac and stay close to this space. And when you do, don't just subscribe to content. Subscribe to the version of you that is ready to be guided, ready to heal, ready to stop calling struggle normal. In the comments, give a 2-word check-in that tells the truth about where you are right now. Something like quiet rebuilding, ready now, tired but hopeful, done waiting, softening finally. Let it be your small vow in public. I'm here, and I'm not abandoning myself anymore. Because what God removes last is usually what you tried to carry alone. You didn't get blocked because you weren't worthy. You got blocked because something in you was being protected from an outcome you weren't meant to settle for. That might sound strange when you've been asking for relief, when you've been pleading for movement, when you've been trying to understand why the door wouldn't open no matter how many times you knocked with your knuckles bleeding through the smile. But protection doesn't always feel gentle. Sometimes protection feels like a delay that forces you to outgrow the version of yourself that would have accepted crumbs just because you were hungry. And you, Leo, you were hungry for something real. You wanted a love that didn't require you to shrink. You wanted respect that didn't come with conditions. You wanted a path that honored your gifts instead of punishing them. You wanted the kind of life where your kindness didn't get mistaken for weakness, where your loyalty wasn't used as a leash, and the world tested you. It tested your heart. It tested your patience. It tested your boundaries in the most personal ways. Because nothing shapes a lion like the moments it has to choose between being adored and being free. This is the part people don't understand about you. You are not just confidence, you are courage. And courage isn't loud all the time. Sometimes courage is quiet. Sometimes courage is waking up and choosing not to become bitter. Sometimes courage is forgiving without reopening the door. Sometimes courage is admitting you're tired and still refusing to live a small life. So what is the last blocker? It's the final attachment to what once made sense. It's the last thread connecting you to a version of the past that can't follow you into what's next. It's the emotional habit of checking the locked door instead of turning around to see the open gate behind you. It's the tendency to keep explaining yourself to people who have already decided not to understand you. It's the old reflex to prove your goodness, as if your heart has to earn its right to be loved. And God, call it the universe, call it divine timing, has been working quietly in the background, not to punish you, but to refine you, to separate you from what drains your fire, to remove what keeps you circling the same lesson in different clothing. You can feel it when you look back. There were moments you wanted something so badly, you would have taken it even if it came poisoned. And you don't like admitting that because Leo prides itself on discernment, on dignity, on having standards. But there is a type of loneliness that makes even the strongest heart negotiate with itself. There is a type of exhaustion that makes you think, maybe I'm asking for too much. Maybe I should just accept what's offered. And that's when the block appeared, not as cruelty, but as mercy. The mercy was in the interruption. The mercy was in the silence that kept you from committing to the wrong voice, the wrong contract, the wrong dynamic, the wrong dream. The mercy was in the repeated redirection that forced you to develop faith in yourself when the outer world wasn't cooperating, because Leo, when you finally get what you've been waiting for, it won't be something you have to chase while bleeding. It will be something that recognizes you without you having to audition. The last blocker is being removed because you are finally ready to receive without self-sabotage. And that's the secret nobody talks about. Receiving can be harder than struggling. You learned how to survive. You learned how to stand tall in storms. You learned how to smile while your heart was still stitched together with thread that only you could see. But receiving asks you to soften. Receiving asks you to trust. Receiving asks you to stop scanning for what might go wrong and start believing you're allowed to be held. If you've been feeling unusually reflective lately, if you've been thinking about old memories you thought you were over, if you've been noticing your patience thinning in places where you used to tolerate too much, this is part of the removal. It's like the divine is cleaning out a room in your spirit, emptying the dust, opening the windows, letting the light fall on everything that has been stored away. Not to shame you, to free you. You can't move forward while dragging old loyalty behind you like an anchor. You can't step into new love while still rehearsing betrayal. You can't become the version of you that leads with joy if you keep feeding the version of you that expects pain. And you've been expecting pain, haven't you? Not because you're negative, because you're experienced. You've seen how quickly admiration can turn into envy. You've seen how people clap for you when you're useful and disappear when you're human. You've seen how the world loves your shine until it reminds them of what they haven't healed in themselves. You've seen friendships that felt like family become strange when your life begins to expand. You've felt the subtle competition, the sweetness that had sharp edges, the I'm happy for you that somehow sounded like grief. And through all of it, you kept your heart open. That was your sacred work. But now your heart is learning a new skill, discernment that doesn't feel like guilt. The last blocker is being removed from your path, and it may look like endings. It may look like distance. It may look like a door closing that you thought you still needed. It may look like an unanswered message, a plan that falls through, a person revealing themselves one last time in a way you can't unsee. It may look like you suddenly losing interest in what used to hook your attention. It may look like you waking up and realizing you're done trying to make something work alone. And here's the part I want you to breathe into. You are not losing what is meant for you. You are being released from what you had to outgrow. God does not remove what supports your destiny. God removes what imitates it. So if something has been slipping away lately, if you've felt the emotional cords snapping one by one, don't panic. Don't chase. Don't beg the old story to stay alive. Sometimes the last blocker is your attachment to the familiar pain. Sometimes the last blocker is your fear of being seen in your full power, because being powerful means being visible, and being visible means you can't hide behind almost. Leo, you were not born for almost. You were born for the full thing, the full love, the full respect, the full purpose, the full life. And yes, that kind of life requires a certain kind of courage, because it will ask you to stop dimming your flame to keep other people comfortable. It will ask you to stop being the sun in rooms where people refuse to grow anything. It will ask you to stop pouring into cups that never get full because they were never meant to carry what you offer. Around the middle of this message, I want to ask you for something simple. If you can feel even a small spark of truth in what I'm saying, like this video, not as a favor, but as a personal marker, an energetic yes. And in the comments, answer this one question honestly. What boundary are you finally ready to stop negotiating? One sentence, one clear line. I'm no longer explaining myself. I'm no longer chasing closure. I'm no longer shrinking to be chosen. Let it be real. Let it be yours. Let it be the moment you decide that your peace is not a bargaining chip. Because the last blocker often tests your boundaries before it leaves. It tries one final time to see if you'll return to the old version of yourself, the version who responds immediately, the version who forgives without accountability, the version who overfunctions while everyone else underdelivers, the version who carries the relationship, the project, the dream, the emotional labor, alone. And God is watching, not to judge you, but to witness your graduation. There's a reason Leo energy is associated with royalty, not because you're above others, but because your spirit is meant to lead with integrity. A true leader doesn't rule by force. A true leader sets standards and lives by them. A true leader knows when to leave the table that keeps serving disrespect as if it's normal. So, if you're in a season where you feel less tolerant, less patient with mixed signals, less willing to entertain confusion, good. That's not you becoming cold. That's you becoming clear. That's you becoming unavailable to what drains your life force. That's you choosing your future over your fear. Let the last blocker fall. Let it fall without a dramatic goodbye. Let it fall without a speech. Let it fall without you needing to be understood by the people who benefited from you staying stuck. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is move forward quietly. And I know that can be hard for you, because Leo has a heart that wants to be recognized. You don't crave attention the way people assume. You crave sincerity. You crave loyalty. You crave the feeling of being cherished, not just noticed. You want to know the love is real. You want to know you're safe. You want to know that if you finally let your guard down, the world won't punish you for it. But the path ahead is not designed to punish you. It's designed to expand you. It's designed to restore you. It's designed to return you to joy. And joy, Leo? Joy is not a reward you earn by suffering long enough. Joy is a frequency you align with by refusing to betray yourself. So here's what's happening. The divine is removing the last blocker by changing you first. Not your personality, not your softness, not your warmth, your tolerance for misalignment, your willingness to stay in what costs you your light. Your habit of calling inconsistency potential, your reflex to take responsibility for other people's lack, your tendency to keep hope alive in situations that God has already outgrown. You've probably noticed this in small ways. You don't respond the same anymore. You don't get pulled into the same arguments. You don't chase the same validation. You don't feel the same hunger for approval. You're starting to protect your peace like it's sacred because it is. And as you protect it, the path clears. As you choose yourself, the obstacles reveal themselves as illusions that only existed because you were still entertaining them. As you become emotionally unavailable to what's not meant for you, the right doors begin to open, not with chaos, but with ease, not with desperation, but with confirmation, not with confusion, but with clarity. And when it happens, you'll recognize it by how your nervous system responds, because the right alignment doesn't make you feel like you have to prove. The right alignment doesn't make you feel like you have to beg. The right alignment doesn't make you feel like you have to shrink. It feels like exhale. It feels like warmth. It feels like being met. And it's coming closer. But Leo, I need you to promise yourself something. When the last blocker is removed, don't run back to the rubble to explain why you're building a new house. Don't keep revisiting the old chapter to convince yourself it was real. Don't let nostalgia become a chain. Let the lessons be enough. You can honor what you survived without returning to it. You can love what shaped you without living there again. You can forgive without reopening. That is spiritual maturity. That is true strength. That is the lion walking forward without needing applause, because the lion knows what it is. And if right now you're in the in-between, if the old is fading and the new hasn't fully arrived, this is the most sacred part. This is where faith is built. Not the kind of faith that's a pretty word. The kind of faith that is a muscle. The kind of faith that chooses peace over panic. The kind of faith that stops trying to control how everything unfolds and starts trusting what is unfolding. The last blocker doesn't leave because you fought harder. It leaves because you finally stopped feeding it. It leaves because you finally stopped negotiating with what hurts you. It leaves because you finally chose alignment over attachment, and that choice, quiet as it may seem, moves mountains in the spirit. So when you feel the urge to question yourself, remember this: you were not delayed. You were prepared. You were not rejected. You were redirected. You were not forgotten. You were being protected from what would have dimmed your fire. And now the path is opening, because your soul is ready to walk it without losing yourself along the way. At the end of this message, I want to invite you back into your own power in a simple way. Subscribe to Leo Zodiac if you want more guidance that speaks to the real parts of you, the parts that are healing, the parts that are rebuilding, the parts that are stepping into something new without needing permission. And as you do, leave one promise in the comments, one sentence that begins with, "I will no longer," or "I choose." Make it honest. Make it yours. Make it something your future self can come back and read when the world tries to pull you off center. And like the video as a second marker, another yes, another signal to yourself that you are taking this seriously. Not because you need a miracle to be worthy, but because you're ready to cooperate with the miracle that's already moving. Leo, God is removing the last blocker from your path, and what comes next will not require you to bleed to belong. It will not require you to dim to be loved. It will not require you to beg to be met. It will require you to stay true, stay bright, stay clear, stay loyal to your own soul, because the road is opening. And this time, you're not walking into another lesson. You're walking into the life you prayed for. Finally, without the weight that was never yours to carry.